Hey guys, so today I noticed something had happened. Um I've been taking a break from similar as I do from time to time. I post for like a week straight and then just disappear for 3 months with no explanation. Um but I recently discovered that a Sims YouTuber by the name of SimLissy, I hope I said that correctly, used my Dove ReShade preset in a video. And I had no idea about it until I'd like logged in for the first time in forever today. Actually it wasn't today, it was a couple of days ago, but I was busy with stuff and didn't feel like doing this. But I noticed I had a lot of new questions as far as ReShade was concerned, and I was like, why is this happening? How did I get questions all the time, but I wasn't sure why out of the blue randomly so many people were asking me questions again. And one of the messages had informed me that SimLissy was using my ReShade preset, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I got very overwhelmed by all of the questions, and one of them had asked if I could create some kind of video explaining how to install everything, and I thought that was probably a very good idea, so that way I wouldn't have to answer a bunch of individual questions, and then like later as more people try to download it, I wouldn't have to answer like the same question over and over again. I could just link to a video. So yeah, but me being me, I decided also that I wanted to do this in a way that it would pretty much be all-encompassing, and I could explain literally everything all at once. So not only am I going to be explaining how to install Dove, but I'm gonna try and explain ReShade in general. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about 3.0, which is the version that I created Dove on, 3.4, which I created another ReShade preset on, and then just for, I don't know, completionist's sake, I'm going to try and install the latest version, which is 4.7, and see how everything will work with that. But first things first, we're gonna start with Dove. I'll leave links to everything, hopefully, in the description as far as where you can find stuff, people I talk about, blogs I talk about, all that will be in the description. So, like I said, Dove was created on the ReShade version 3.0.8. Essentially just any 3.0 version should theoretically work the same as this one. And you have to understand that back then when I made this, I was very new to ReShade, and I didn't exactly understand everything that was going on, so a lot, I won't say a lot, but things that are in the description don't necessarily hold true to now, as far as what's required, what will work, and what won't work. There's basically ways to finagle any preset to work with any version. Theoretically, it's more just about how much work you want to do, as opposed to this absolutely will not work. So yeah, we're gonna get started. Actually, for the purposes of this tutorial, what I did was I removed everything out of my ReShade folder area. It's all gone. I currently do not have ReShade in my game or any ReShade presets or anything. I deleted everything. If you want to do that, I actually recommend that you start fresh, as whenever you're trying to install a new version, just get rid of everything because it makes it so much easier, at least for me. But if you are going to do that, make sure that if you manage to get your ReShade working correctly, that you make some kind of backup folder where everything that you had is still in there and intact. That way, if you mess something up horribly, you can just put it back and never look back and not have any regrets about what you just did. So hopefully today I won't have regrets about what I've done, but just in case, I did make a backup folder with everything that I had in my ReShade, and it's available in case things go horribly wrong. So like I said, I'm gonna talk about 3.0.8, 3.4.1, and the latest version. I have played with both 3.0 and 3.4.1, but I have not looked at all at 4.7, so we'll be flying blind when we get to that point, but for now we're gonna start in a comfortable area. I would say it goes from like difficulty level 1 to difficulty level like 3, and then I just don't know what's gonna happen over here, but we're gonna try our best. Okay, so first things first is that if you are opting to use version 3.0.8, I've noticed that a lot of the presets that you'll find on Symboler were created with 3.0.8, so probably this is gonna be like the one that, I don't know, if you're gonna start out, you might want to use this one. Like I said, it doesn't really matter what version you use, you just have to be willing to figure out how to make it work. But anyway, we're gonna install 3.0.8. Go ahead and run. And all of this that I have over here is just what I said was required for the Dove preset. The process should be the same with any 3.0 ReShade that you use. I say should be because it should be. I should preface this by saying I'm not an expert, and anything that I say is liable to be incorrect. Okay. So now we need to select our game. So basically you just want to find wherever your game is located. For me, most of yours will probably be located on your C drive. I use a D drive. It's the same thing. Program files. And I think, I'm not sure why this is like this for me. Most people, I think, have their Sims 4 located in Origin Games. I don't. For some reason, mine is just separate and outside of that. So, yeah. I don't know why that is, but if yours is not just in its own folder, it's probably under Origin Games. I'm gonna go to Sims 4. That's the wrong folder. You want to go to Game, and then Bin. And you'll know you're in the right place because you'll see this. The application for The Sims 4. Oh. You have to click on the application for Sims 4. My bad. Okay, rendering API, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Direct 9. That's what I've always clicked on. But again, I could be wrong, but Direct 9 has worked for me. Now, when it asks you if you want to download a collection of standard effects, I would say the safest thing for you to do is probably press no if you are going to use a version that is older. The reason why I would say to press no is because when you select yes, it downloads the effects from the latest version of ReShade. So even though we're downloading version 3.0.8, they're going to give us shaders from 4.7, which I think is the latest. Which wouldn't be an issue if it weren't for the fact that we need to download compatible 3.0 shaders later, and that's when you start to encounter all the errors, because some shaders get replaced and some shaders don't, and then you end up with like a Mod Podge of just things that aren't compatible with each other, and I think that's where a lot of the errors that people are experiencing are coming from. So my advice, if you are downloading an older version, is to press no when this dialog box comes up, because we have our own shaders that we're going to put in there later. So at this point, ReShade is finished. It's completely installed, everything's good, and you can close out of this window. Now, ReShade installs itself in the game folder. So basically, the folder that we just opened, the bin folder, will now have these things here, which weren't here before. Everything's installed and everything's good, and you'll want to keep note, like I have mine pinned because I change or like add reshades in here so often. But again, it's just the same folder that'll be in your D or C drive, program files. If it's in here, it could be in Origin Games. Mine is just in its own folder. Game, bin, bam. There you go. We'll talk about the ReShade shaders folder, which again is linked onto my preset file thing, the post. You'll find it, you'll see it. Okay. So in here, what should be in here is a folder called ReShade shaders. I don't have it in here, but I think that's just because I haven't run the game yet. It shouldn't be too big of an issue. Oh, you know what? It's not in here because I said I didn't want to install the shaders. Duh. Okay. So then you'll want to create a new folder called ReShade shaders. The best way I can explain what these are is like, if you think about like filters on your phone. These are basically filters, and whenever you click on one or you add one, it's a different filter that just changes the appearance of the game, essentially. So yeah, this is the folder for the ReShade shaders that are compatible with version 3.0.8. I recently discovered today that it is the same shaders that are compatible for 3.4.1. But once you download this, you're going to want to extract it, so just right click. I use 7-zip, but you can also use extract all, and you'll get this folder, which you'll want to open up. I renamed it as well because it was such a long name, and I just wanted to make sure that it was legible for the purposes of this tutorial. And you'll want to open that up. And these are all the files that are going to go into this folder here in your bin. So what you're going to want to do is copy and paste them. You can highlight them with the box. If you press Control or Command A, it'll select all. Control C will copy, go into this folder, and Control V will paste. So now you have compatible 3.0.8 shaders in your folder without too much of a hassle. And we can close out of this because you don't need it anymore. And then when you're ready, you can copy the preset just in this general folder here. Bam. And that is Dove all figured out, hopefully. We're going to test to make sure I don't get any errors, and we're going to open up the Sims. Actually, my game updated today. I was going to say it's going to take me 15 minutes to load up the Sims, but my game updated today, which means all of my mods are currently deactivated, so it probably actually won't take that long to open. Look at that. Okay, so when it opens, or at least it should have taken some time to load in all of the shaders. Maybe we messed up. This is a learning experience. We're all learning here together today. I'm gonna try and be as in-depth and explanatory as I possibly can, but we'll see what happens. So what should have happened in the top is that it should have said like something like loading or compiling shaders or something. Or maybe that's just a thing that only happens with 3.4. I don't know. I don't remember. I haven't used this version in a while. But I believe the default keys for opening up the ReShade menu is Shift F2. And it'll run you through a tutorial. And add new presets. You can, to continue the tutorial, we have to add a new preset, and we'll just call this new preset, I guess, if I could spell. A list of techniques, variables. We don't have anything, which means I messed something up somewhere. Let's ReShade is a very finicky thing, which you know, it's a finicky thing. Okay, so it looks like it's because the effect and texture search paths are incorrect because we didn't install the previous shaders. So that's not too hard to fix. Basically, we just want to add an extension to the file path, and if you remember, this right here is just this. And we want it to go into this folder, and then each of these folders, respectfully. So from the bin, we want to go to ReShade, Shaders, ReShade Shaders again. And for this one, we want effects. And for this one, we want textures. I think. Is that what they're called? Oh, never mind. This one is textures, this one will be shaders. Hopefully. We hope. Okay, now we're gonna need to restart The Sims for the changes to take place. You can see why I wanted to make a video and start from scratch to show everything, just because it's so hard to know where people's folders are at unless like everyone who has an issue sends me multiple pictures and multiple like very in-depth explanations as far as what they've done. So hopefully hopefully I'm explaining things in a way that it's easy for you to understand, or at the very least you can just look at the screen and copy exactly what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. So we fixed it. Now it says it's loading all the effects. It will slow down the loading of your Sims game. It will probably like go not responding for a little bit, but everything's fine. It's just loading in all of the fancy stuff that you need. And can I just say that this is the smoothest experience I've had downloading ReShade ever. I remember when I first tried to use ReShade, the first preset I made in ReShade was actually in 3.4.1, and it was very ugly. It's still up for download if you want it, but it was very ugly. And as you can see, it's already loaded the preset and everything's good because the screen looks weird. But yeah, I think what really makes the difference here is just selecting that no button at the start. You have to do some reconfiguring of like the paths and stuff, but it's not that difficult. It took like 3 seconds. We did that. It was pretty easy. Yeah, it eliminates the errors for the most part as far as things getting confused, like which things are being overwritten. Because before, what I used to tell people to do is to just install like normal, press yes, and then overwrite any of those files with the new files. And that just caused issues. So this time we started with nothing, and now we don't have any of those pesky little errors that are causing people issues. Yeah, and so everything loaded and everything is fine. Okay, so a couple of things about the settings. Because I've reinstalled, all of my settings have just like been knocked out of here. So the overlay key, like I said, is Shift F2, and that will close and open the ReShade menu. I always do Shift F3 for effects toggle key, and that will turn the effect on and off. I'm not sure if these were in here before. My guess is that they probably were. I don't know. If you don't have these in here, that's fine. It shouldn't change anything. But we'll talk about this later when I start talking about 3.4 and the Leif preset, which is just a whole lot of stuff. My screenshot key is print screen. Basically, this will be wherever you want your screenshots to go. And then I always change my screenshot formats to PNGs. I don't actually know what bitmaps are, so I just use PNG. And from there, everything should be fine. Now, what I want to do is test in-game, because The number one thing that changes between the versions, which causes people such a headache, is the MXAO. And the MXAO is basically, oh my goodness. Sorry, I just had to stop because the create a sim looks so weird. The MXAO is basically the shadows. So if you look here and I deselect it, you can see it becomes less shadowed. Now in 3.0.8, the MXAO is, well, it looks like this. It looks the way it's supposed to. And the problem that people have with later versions is that it becomes like this big, just like black thing that encompasses everything, and it doesn't look right and it doesn't look cute. It's disgusting. And that's probably the main reason why there's such a distinction between the versions of ReShade. But like I said, if you're willing to configure and move things and change things around, it really doesn't become that big of an issue. The rest of the shaders pretty much stay the same from version to version. At least I think they do. Yeah, so basically, if you wanted, you could use Dove in version 3.4 or 4.7 or whatever, as long as you're able to change the things that need to be changed. And I will show you what that looks like. Now, we're going to move on to version 3.4.1. Okay, so now we're going to talk about ReShade version 3.4.1. And we are taking off from assuming that you just installed 3.0.8 or that you already have some kind of ReShade in here. I'm literally doing this 30 seconds after we just did 3.0.8. Now, today, like I said earlier, I discovered that the ReShade shaders that are compatible for 3.0.8 are also compatible for 3.4.1. At least I think they are, because I looked back at the links for Leif and Dove, and the shaders link to the same spot. So, I think that if I play my cards right, this will be pretty easy as well. Now, if you're starting from scratch and you didn't install 3.0.8, that'll be fine too. The only thing that's going to change is that you might have to set up your file paths again. Okay, so we're going to install 3.4.1. Or you know what? Just to show you guys how confident I am that this is going to be a very fun and easy experience for everybody, let's delete what we did before. We'll just assume that we're starting from scratch again. As far as ReShade is concerned, whenever you're trying to uninstall, what you want to get rid of is ReShade shaders, any presets. If you want to, you can keep the presets in there. And they just won't show up or do anything unless you have ReShade installed. And then we'll get rid of the D3, D9s. And that should essentially uninstall ReShade. Yeah, so let's install 3.4.1. Run. Okay, and just like before, we are going to select our game, wherever yours may be located. It'll be in a game bin folder. It's just, again, all the nuance from where it is, actually. And you want to click on your game, D39. And like I said earlier, it's a little bit of extra work, but I think it makes things much easier if you just press no if you're installing an older version. And just like that, ReShade is loaded. Ta-da! Okay, so now this new thing popped up here. And you know what? It's going to make things even easier for us, because that means that we don't have to change the file paths in-game. And I'll show you what I mean. So you're going to want to open this up, and you'll get this notepad. And if you notice, it looks very similar to the dialog box that we opened up in-game from 3.0.8. And because we already know where all the folders and things are gonna go, you can just go ahead and type in your file extensions here. This is the effects path, so it's gonna go to the shaders folder. This is the texture folder, so it's gonna go to the textures folder. And then press save. Basically what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that it searches for the right things in the right places. That way you actually get all the options that you can check and uncheck and do lots of fancy cool stuff with. Okay, so then you're going to want to open up the shaders, and just like before, we're going to create the ReShade shaders folder in here. And then copy and paste these files into this folder. Just like that. And then we are going to copy our preset into there. And just like that, everything should be fine. Except it's not, because Leif ReShade requires a whole lot of extra stuff, and I'm going to try and explain as best as I can how to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And it might not at first, because ReShade rarely ever goes smoothly for me, but we're gonna get through it together. And just to demonstrate what I mean about ReShades being able to work in basically any version, we're also going to put Dove back in here, just so we can see what that looks like. Okay. So, Leif comes with its own slew of other stuff that needs to be downloaded. If you have a preset that doesn't require all this extra stuff and you just needed to know how to work 3.4.1, excellent, you can stop here and move on. Or if you actually were interested in Leif and you have issues with Leif, because I know people had issues with Leif as well, I will talk about how to get everything done there correctly as well. Okay, so like I said, I already have all the requirements downloaded and ready. I'll leave a link to the preset, and that'll include everything that you need so you can download it for yourself. And we're gonna start with the Quint shaders. Okay, so we have all of this stuff and we don't know what it is. Okay, so these things are the effects and the shade and the textures. Actually, I think these are all just effects. But if you look inside your ReShade shaders, I've done you a favor by not showing you what's in here, just because it's a little bit daunting, especially if you don't really know what these are. But you can basically think about them like filters. And these are just new extra filters that you can add that will do different effects. Is essentially what all these things in here are. So, if you're installing Clear Bloom, what you'll want to do is go into your ReShade shaders. Or these are the Quint shaders that come with Clear Bloom. It all gets very confusing, but just stick with me. And we'll go under shaders. If you're not sure which to click, if you just look inside, you can see that these files are all DDS or PNG files, and these aren't, so they probably don't go in here. And it's pretty easy to tell where they're supposed to go. And we're just going to copy these and paste them in here. I will say that if I have trouble with anything as far as installing these things goes, it's always the Quint things that for some reason just like don't like to cooperate. I'm pretty sure that because we started from scratch, everything should be pretty easy. I'm hoping at least that we won't get a lot of errors. But yeah, so now you have these in here. We're gonna close out. And then we're going to open the Clear Bloom. Okay, so we are not actually installing the Clear Bloom ReShade for Leif. We just need certain shaders and certain textures. And they should line up with our file path because we have the same names. And we'll go under shaders again. And here we have this. Now, all of these should go in here without too much of an issue, and you probably won't get any errors. The only thing that I think might give you some trouble is the fact that there are 2 MXAOs. If you see, we just installed Quint shaders, and this had an MXAO, and there's this one, and this has an MXAO. As far as I can tell, they're the same exact thing. If you look, date modified is the same, time is the same. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I probably won't need to put this in here. Or I just double clicked, I didn't do that. I probably won't need to put that in there. So I'm just gonna leave it alone and not touch it. And copy the rest of these files. Into the shaders folder. There are some conflictions. Multi-LUT, yeah, you'll want to replace that. Basically what that's going to do is it's going to add... Multi-LUT really is like filters. It's going to add basically more filters. And then we're going to back out and go to textures. And then copy and paste those. Click yes to replace the files. And that's good. So like I said, you really only need to do all these extra steps if you are going to install Leif or any other preset that has other requirements. Basically, you just want to make sure that you're putting everything in their right places, and you should be good. Okay, so now we're going to open up the game with 3.4.1 installed. And as you can see up at the top, it's going to do the loading effects, and there's a lot more effects than the last time, and that's because we installed a bunch more. And you know, it's going to take some time to load everything, and your screen is going to load super slow, and you're going to think your game is crashing, but it's not. Just give it some time. Okay, so we are loaded in. It looks like... oh, they're going to give me a tutorial again. We're experts at this now. We already know. Everything is... we already know what's going on here, okay? We're experts. Okay, so everything appears to have loaded correctly and nicely. You'll notice that 3.4.1 has a much nicer UI. It's a lot more friendly, which is why I re-upgraded again, because I started on 3.4.1, I downgraded to 3.0, and now I'm back to 3.4.1. And I honestly would have upgraded to 4.7, I was just too lazy. But now that I'm doing this, I'm probably going to stay with 4.7 if we get everything working the way it should. But yeah, now we have all of this stuff, and it didn't give me any glaring errors when it was loading, which means that everything is probably okay. But if you want, you can check the log, and that will basically bring up any errors that you see. So mine does have errors, and I checked before I started doing this, and my ReShade had errors anyway. But these aren't like break your game, nothing's gonna work errors. These are just compiled with warnings errors, which means that everything is gonna work. You can just ignore these. That's what I do. I just ignore these. And yeah, everything appears to have worked correctly. Let me just set this really quick because it's gonna get on my nerves if I... oh wait, no, that's not right. This is reload now, which means if you wanted to like reload your effects or whatever, you can do that. We're gonna set the toggle key, and we're gonna select Dove really quickly just to show you everything looks pretty much the same. Everything should be fine. Now I think, okay, this is where people have their issues with the way that 3.4 handles MXAO. Let me disable the depth of field. So, if you look at what the MXAO looked like for 3.0.8 and what it looks like now, this is where people run into problems and issues, and this is why a lot of people have stuck with 3.0.8, is because this is all because of the MXAO. Let me show you really quickly. Which looked so pretty and nice and shadow-like before, now just... Why is it doing that? We don't know. Except we do know. It is a line of text in your preprocessor definitions box, which is a whole lot to say, underneath of settings. I read... Oh, I wanted to talk about this other blog, Picture Amoeba. That's where we got all the clear bloom shaders and things for Leif. They've done a lot of talking about ReShade in general and troubleshooting errors and helping people, so I'm gonna link to their blog as well, because most of the knowledge I have now is pretty much 95% because of that blog. So if you have other issues or errors or questions, you can look there as well. But essentially, the way that I understand it is that it's reading the shadows, but they're like upside down, I think is what I read, and it's just not the way it's supposed to be. And that's why your MXAO does this instead of what it's supposed to. And this is an easy fix. All you have to do is type in 0 instead of 1. And it's not going to update right away. We're going to have to log out and load back in. Or, wait, hold on. We might not have to. I'm going to set this to Shift F1. And we're going to close out of the menu. And press Shift F1. And let it reload all the effects and see if it fixes itself while I'm still in here. Ah, see? Look, it worked. Everything is... Do you see how much better it looks? Now it looks exactly like it did in the 3.0.8 version. And everything is just... We're living in a world full of rainbows and happiness and sunshine. Everything is working. Everything looks great. Yeah, so this line here... ReShade depth input is reversed. If you get in and it looks like your game is like just covered in like this mysterious black fog, or it's not even black fog, it doesn't look right. It looks like how it looked before. It's probably because this line is set to equal 1. And if you remember from, I didn't talk about it, but I mentioned the box in 3.0.8. It was set to 0. But then it defaults to 1 in later versions, and that's why the MXAO looks weird. So here we go. This is a ReShade preset I made in 3.0.8, and it works and looks, if not exactly the same, very similar in 3.4.1. We also have Leif, which is just a frame killer. And Leif uses all of the extra stuff that we downloaded, the Quint MXAO, these extra ones that come with Clear Bloom, and basically just a bunch of stuff that isn't normally included. And they both look good. Or at least they look the way they're supposed to. Okay, so this is where I wanted to stop with the tutorial, but then I said, you know, somebody else asked a question about if they knew how much work it would take to get my presets to work with the latest version, and I was like, you know, I actually don't know because I haven't used the latest version. I imagine it wouldn't be extremely difficult, but we're gonna try it out today and we're gonna test. So now I'm entering uncharted territory. 4.7.0. Okay, so because we're very confident now in our ability to put ReShade in here without errors, I'm just going to delete everything again, like I always do. Plus this ReShade configuration setting thing, you probably actually don't need to delete that. I think what'll happen instead is that it just won't, it'll be like if you left your ReShade presets in here. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna leave those. I think it'll have settings, but because there's no ReShade installed, the settings won't do anything. and then if you were to install ReShade later, then it would form to those settings. But I'm not entirely sure, so to be on the safe side, I'm just going to delete it, as well as the ReShade shaders folder. And we're going to get rid of those, because we're going to install 4.7. So again, run. We've been through this before. We know everything that's going on. Okay. Enable, disable, ReShade, and I don't know what that means, so I'm not going to worry about it. Oh, look! Okay, so like I said, I have not installed 4.7. So it looks like this one just automatically starts detecting applications. I shouldn't click on stuff before it's done loading, but I am just excited. So it looks like it's gonna try and detect all of my games that I was gonna say that could be compatible with ReShade, but I don't know if the creation kit would be compatible with ReShade. I don't know. It looks like it's just detecting a bunch of games and things, so that way we don't have to go and find our game necessarily, but we could select it from this list. Although conveniently, it looks like it has decided to skip over The Sims. So we might have to find it anyway, but it's not done yet, so we'll give it some more time. Okay, so it looks like it has finished scanning for games, and for some reason, it has decided that The Sims is not a game. I mean, honestly, I can't blame them. So, I'm only half kidding. So we're just gonna find the game again. And again, it'll be in that bin folder, and you're just gonna want to select the application. Maybe it's because the application name is different. It would still be like in this general area though. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Doesn't matter. And again, I'm gonna select D9. And oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so remember how I said that everything was like a filter? These are basically, I guess, let me read. Check all effect packages you want to install or update. Click. Okay, so it looks like these are just effect collections that other people have posted. Yeah, because like here's Quint and stuff. So these are just a bunch of like different filters and things that other people have created to work with ReShade. So for this, I would say probably just use your own discretion. You could, it's probably not a good idea to have them all running at the same time if you're not going to use them. But like if you know that you want certain things, like we probably want Quint. I'm not gonna click it just in case it's different from what I actually want to put in there. But yeah, if you know what any of these are, or if you're curious about them, you could click the box and it would put all the effects, I'm assuming, in like that little box where you can click and uncheck stuff and all that. So for now, I'm just gonna leave these two checked. It looks like you can't uncheck standard, but for now, I'm just gonna leave these two checked because I recognize these two, and this one I guess is just you have to install that. And we'll press OK. Ooh, okay, so it gives you an option of exactly which things you want to install. So if you didn't want certain effects, you could get rid of them. Me, for instance, I know that I never use any of these, but for the sake of tutorial, we'll just leave them checked. Yeah, we'll just leave everything checked for now. Okay, so ReShade setup was successful, just like before. You may now close the setup tool or click this button. Okay, so this will show, these are like the settings that were in the box before, how you know we had to type in the effect path. Now, because we actually downloaded the effects that came with the application, it automatically pathed itself to the right place, so we don't have to change these. And you can also change your screenshot path from here. So like I said, I didn't remember where mine was, but now I can just click on this and it automatically will select the folder. Okay, mine was in my documents. Okay. And because we already know, I'm just gonna click skip tutorial. And okay. So now we've set up 4.7 and we're gonna leave the presets in here. Now, theoretically speaking, the shaders shouldn't have changed that much. So I'm going to not put the new ReShade shaders in there. And we're gonna leave this the same. However, because Leif requires extra stuff, I'm gonna try and put Leif stuff back in there and see what happens. So we're gonna start with the Quint. That's why I didn't click the Quint ones, just because I didn't want to create any unnecessary errors. Worst case scenario, these are all the same things that came with Quint, and I could have just saved myself a step. Best case scenario, I avoided 18 different errors that I don't know what they are. So we're just gonna copy these back in here. Close. Open Clear Bloom. Copy these shaders. Wait, we wanna be in textures again. Textures. And then copy these. Okay. So now 4.7.0 is up and running, we think. I'm just gonna check these really quickly again. Okay, yeah, so it should be going smoothly. Alright, and we're gonna test and open the Sims again. Okay, this is different. There were errors compiling some shaders. No! We were doing so well. Okay, I think that the default opening key for the 4.0 versions is the home button instead of Shift F2. But I'm pressing home and it's not opening, so... Okay, I'll wait for it to load in completely and then we'll try and see what happens. Anyway, it said there were errors compiling shaders, which I guess is kind of a good thing, because now I can teach you kind of how to troubleshoot whatever errors occur. Okay, it is home. It is home. Okay, so it looks like errors compiling the following shaders. Okay, so 4.7, it looks like it actually tells you, just like right here. Ordinarily, I'm not sure. It might show you there in the other versions. But you can see how the warnings are yellow and the straight up errors are red. So if you have yellow stuff, you don't have to really worry about. Can I make this shorter? I don't know how I feel about it being like all that tall, but you know, I don't know what that means. But basically, these just aren't working. So we're gonna have to figure out what's wrong with them. I have an idea of how we could fix it, but for now I just want to check and see. So we have Dove, and Dove doesn't use either of these shaders, so it should appear correctly. And let me just... I'm gonna switch this back to Shift F2. Effect toggle Shift F3. Reload Shift F1. There's even keys now to switch presets, which is pretty cool. Oh, we gotta find the box. We gotta find the box. Let's find the box. Oh, okay. It's on the home. It's on the home. Edit global preprocessor definitions, and it's got its own little thing. Okay, really want to check to make sure that ReShade depth input is reversed is set to 0. And that'll fix your MXAO problems that people have all the time. Let me just check really quickly to make sure that is actually the case. Stuff looks fine, hopefully. If it's not the exact same, it's close enough, I think. Oh, you know what? No, it's not. We are actually missing a couple of shaders here. Okay, so we're gonna, like I said, we're going on an adventure today because I've never used this. We are definitely missing Filmic Pass, at least. Oh no, this is definitely not what I wanted. No! Okay, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it looks like we are missing a couple of shaders. Actually, it does matter. Why is it like full screen? What's going on? Okay. I did something and now I can move it the way I wanted it to be. Okay. So it looks like we're missing a couple of shaders, and we do have a couple of shader errors. So I'm going to go ahead and, as a matter of fact, we're missing MXAO as well. There's a lot of shaders missing. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and, oh, I set it to Shift F3. I mean Shift F2. We're gonna go ahead and close. Okay, so this was a good example of when things go horribly wrong with ReShade. Actually, I don't think anything went horribly wrong, and we can probably fix things pretty easily. So I'm gonna go into our ReShade shaders folder, and I'm gonna open up the version 3 shaders that we had before. And let me just check. Yeah, it looks like a lot of them were missing. Okay, so my advice for this part probably would be to take the ones that aren't already in your ReShade shader folder, the ones you got from 4.7, and copy the ones from the 3.0 into there. I'm gonna skip a lot of them just because some of them I know I probably don't need. I want adaptive fog, ambient light. This is gonna be like a whatever you need or want to have. So I'm gonna quickly select the ones that I know for a fact I want in there. And you can copy me or you can make your own selections, but the ones that I select are probably going to be the ones that you'll need for Dove and Leif, along with other ones that I just like to have. Okay, so I went through really quickly to just select some of the things that I'm pretty sure that weren't already in this folder that I'm pretty sure I need somewhere. So I went and selected adaptive fog, ambient light, bloom, border, clarity, colorfulness, depth haze, depth of field. That's what this stands for. DOF, depth of field. Not fake HDR, film grain 2, filmic pass, magic bloom, and that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy these and paste them in here. Oh, it already had border. Okay, well then, oh wait, no, stop. Save that file. And copy the rest. Okay, so some of the ones that were missing now should be in here, and hopefully it'll work. There is always a chance that it'll say it can't be compiled, and then I'm not sure what we're gonna do there. But I guess we'll find out. Okay, now for this one, I think we're gonna skip these two because I'm pretty sure that we copied those over. Actually, let me check to be sure. I'm pretty sure that we copied those over from here. Wrong folder. We did. Okay. So the only thing that's tough with ReShade is trying to give yourself as little, just trying to make sure that things aren't conflicting with each other is very difficult. It gets easier with practice. Like, it may seem like I'm breezing through this, but in reality, I'm not really sure what's gonna happen when I try to open the game again. So again, here, I'm just copying things that weren't already in here. I'm gonna skip UI mask, just because I'm probably never gonna use that. I'm not even sure what it does. I think it, like, you might be able to, like, draw on it and then, like, draw over top of the UI so that way the effect doesn't actually do anything to the UI, but I haven't messed with it, so I'm not sure. How could I forget? MXAO. We want to make sure that that's in there. Okay, and I'm gonna try and boot up The Sims again. Now with these new shaders in there. My thought process is that they should work. But they might not. And we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It seems like 4.7 loads faster. It could have loaded faster because I have errors, but I guess we'll find out. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Okay. So, basically everything that we tried to re-add to here, except for filmic pass seems to have worked okay. Depth of field didn't work. We already know that these don't work, and I think I have a fix. And also this. In my very limited knowledge, I'm going to say that these files are in some type of form that they shouldn't be, or one that the game can't read. We are going to do what we do best, and I think we're gonna try some stuff. We're gonna try. Okay, so because this is not really working out, I think what I'm gonna try and do is look a little closely at the options we have when we're installing 4.7. So I just got rid of everything again. And we're gonna go ahead and run and try to install this. I already know it's not gonna show up on the list, so we're going to find it. Okay, so I think what is happening here is some of these were... Oh! Legacy standard effects. So maybe we want to click these because I know there's old ones. So this time instead when we install it, I'm going to select the Quint shaders and the legacy standard effects. We're gonna go okay, okay. Yeah, so see how this is, what were the ones that we were having issues with before? Lightroom and Bloom. I'm thinking that if we install it through here now, we won't get those errors. Hopefully they are adapted to this version. And legacy standard effect. Okay, yeah. So do you see how it's got all these other ones that we wanted before? Yeah, so I'm just gonna go back through and click the ones that I like to have again. Okay, so these are all the ones that I have selected from here. Ambient light. I'm actually gonna unclick this because I know what that is and I just don't want it. Or that. Ambient light, bloom, border, chromatic aberration, clarity, color matrix, colorfulness. I'm not sure what CRT is, so I think I'm gonna uncheck that as well. Curves, I'm gonna uncheck Daltonize and D-band. Depth haze, display depth. I don't think I want it, but I'm also not sure, so I'm gonna leave it checked. Depth of field, DPX. I'm gonna take off fake HDR. Film grain 2, filmic pass, FXA. I'm gonna take off layer. Levels, lift, gamma gain, luma sharpen, LUT, magic bloom. I'm gonna get rid of monochrome. Actually I'll keep monochrome, just in case. Multi-LUT, MXAO. I'm gonna get rid of nostalgia. Sepia, SMAA. I'm gonna get rid of split screen. Technicolor, Technicolor 2, tone map. I guess I'll keep UI mask, vibrance, and vignette. Okay. And... okay, so I think now it's going to do what we want it to, and it should actually load those legacy shaders without an issue. I hope. I really quickly... I don't want it to be just the Quint shaders that get loaded. It should be all the shaders, so I'm gonna just have it be shaders instead of that Quint folder. Basically what that was trying to do is now there's a new folder in shaders called Quint, and it only wanted to register what was in here, but we need it to register what's in the entire shaders folder because there's multiple shaders there. I'll set my screenshot path later just in case this doesn't work again. Okay, so what we did differently this time was we included the Quint shaders in the download, And also, rather than load in the shaders from version 3.0, we selected them through this launcher underneath the legacy shaders section. And just really quickly, I think, these are all the same shaders. I think I'm not gonna put those in there just because it might cause issues again. And I want to look under here. Shaders, depth haze. I'm going to put everything in here again except for the Quint MXAO. And I'm gonna copy over that. Hopefully I don't regret it. Close. Oh wait, no, I wanted to look at the textures. And I'm gonna copy those in there as well. Okay, and again, that extra stuff from Clearbloom is only if you wanted to try and load up Leif. And we're gonna try and open the game again, and we are hoping this time that the effects load correctly. Okay, so I just loaded back in, and I just want to check really quickly to make sure that everything that was supposed to load in loaded in correctly. It looks like I don't have any errors now. Everything seems to have loaded successfully. Now we're gonna try. Okay, yeah, so it looks like Filming Pass is still here, which is good. Magic Bloom is working now. And then we have the depth of field. Oh. Hold on, my game stopped working. Okay, we had a little bit of a blip there. I'm not sure what happened. But it looks like everything that had errors before, as far as the old shaders go, was fixed. The only thing is that I don't see the Quint ones, so that's weird. I'm not sure why. Maybe if I... Oh, it looks like you can add multiple paths. So it's not loading the... It didn't load the Quint shaders. So I clicked this little plus button and included the file path for the Quint shaders that we installed. And I'm going to go ahead and set this to Shift F1 like before. Close out of the overlay and then press Shift F1 again. And hopefully now it registers the Quint shaders as well as the other ones. Yeah, so now Quint shows up as well, except for the Quint MXAO, which I am pretty sure that's because I use the MXAO from Clearbloom and not the MXAO that comes with this. Which isn't too bad. The way I would fix that is just to go back into Clearbloom and then copy the Quint MXAO shader into the shaders folder. But yeah, we successfully discovered everything that needs to be discovered for 4.7, and now mine is up and running, so I'll probably be using 4.7 from now on. And let me go ahead now and set all my hotkeys back the way they were. Yeah, it looks like everything is good now. I'm gonna hit new game really quickly, just to make sure that the MXAO and everything is the way it should be. It looks like it is. And yeah. Okay, that's great. Everything worked out. I thought I was going to be here for a couple of hours trying to figure out how to do this, but everything pretty much worked out the way that it should, which is surprising, to say the least. So just a quick recap of how we got 4.7 to work, just because it was quite a lot. and there was a lot of skipping around. Okay, so when we're installing 4.7.1 and we are starting from scratch, if you're going to install the latest version, which at this point I would recommend, now that I know that it will work for my presets, I recommend just installing the latest version. It's probably the best way to get things to work properly. What I would recommend doing is starting from scratch like I did, so taking all of your ReShade things and putting them in a backup folder, just in case something goes wrong or you ever want to go and switch back. And if you're going to install it, we go to run, click here. If The Sims 4 doesn't show up, like it didn't show up for me, I don't know if that's like a thing or if something went wrong, but you'll want to browse and find your game folder. Or your game application, which will be in wherever your game is installed. It could be Origin Games here. Mine is just in its own folder here. You want to go to Game, Bin, bam. This existing ReShade. Okay, so I already have an existing ReShade installation found. Whatever. And we're gonna go. If you don't have one, it'll take you directly here. And from here, you'll want to make sure that these two are selected, and then Quint, and then Legacy Shaders. It looks like Legacy Standard. It looks like the Legacy Standard will make sure that you have the proper shaders for older versions of ReShade. And then you want to go OK. And from here, you can select individually which shaders you want to include and which ones you want to install. If you're not sure what one is, the best way to find out is to experiment, honestly. For me, I know what a lot of them are, which ones I use the most and which ones I don't. But if you're not sure, you can just check all of them, and then as you play around with it, you'll see which ones you never use and which ones are just taking up space. And it looks like it saved what I selected from last time. I'm not sure, actually. Okay, it didn't. So you'll just run through and select which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to get rid of. Again, really quickly, I know which ones I don't want to have, and you can look back later to see which ones I use and which ones I don't. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Just press OK, and everything will be loaded, and it should load. I'm assuming that if you were to try and update from an older version, it would be the same process, and it would tell you to update. The only thing I'm not too sure of is what will happen to your ReShade Shaders folder, as far as like what will conflict and what won't. Which is why I would suggest just starting fresh. That way you don't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, so that basically concludes everything that I wanted to talk about and try out today. We talked about 3.0 and how to get Dove to work for 3.0, which is probably the simplest process that we went through today. Then we talked about 3.4 and my Leif preset and essentially how to handle extra requirements for ReShade. And then we talked about 4.0, or not 4.0, 4.7. There's one more thing I wanted to kind of talk about just a little bit, and that is if you are going to use 4.7 and you're going to use older or presets that were made with older versions, it is going to take at least a little bit of work on your part to make sure that everything is the way that it should be. Again, during the installation process, the big thing that you want to make sure is that you check that box that says enable legacy shaders. And it might even be a good idea for you to keep all of the shaders that are included with that, just because you don't know what certain presets will use and what they won't use. Yeah, but it should, everything, we got it to work pretty okay, so everything should be fine and the presets should load the way that they should be. And yeah, so hopefully that answered anyone who had questions about installing my reshades from different versions depending on what you have. Basically, The question I wanted to answer today was whether or not you could get the different presets to work and how easy or how difficult it would be. Again, I don't think it was that difficult, but I know that this isn't easy for everybody, and I just wanted to make kind of like an all-encompassing video explaining how I would go about installing things, and even a little bit how to solve errors and issues. I'm not an expert, and I don't know like word for word what those errors were, but just from experience, I was able to get a general idea of why things weren't working. But yeah, hopefully this fixed any issues that you were having and answered questions. If you still have questions or something wasn't clear or anything like that, the best place to reach me is through my Symboler, which I'll have linked below, and you can ask me questions. Actually, it might be easier if you send me a message. That way you can send me pictures or anything, because it's a lot easier to troubleshoot when I can see what is actually in your folders and know what your process is. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, concerns, whatever, messaging me on Tumblr is probably the best place to do that. And I think I covered everything. I got a request a long time ago as well to make a tutorial as far as making ReShade presets goes. Or maybe it wasn't a request, but like somebody asked if I could, and I kind of gave them like a stupid answer. But if that's something that you guys would want to see, like how I go about making a preset, or what each of those little box things are and what all those settings are and stuff like that, then I would be happy to try. But for now, this concludes everything I wanted to talk about today. Yeah, I hope this helped. I hope you guys are all able to get your ReShade working and have games that don't look like a hot pile of garbage. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks for downloading my presets and being awesome people. So goodbye!